Greetings, old school magic players, and welcome to the Four Horsemen. Greetings, old school magic players, and welcome to the Four Horsemen Old School Magic Players Group. I'm the Chadster, and I'm joined here today with my friend and colleague, John Eccleberry. Top of the morning to you, John. Are you with us?
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. We have a very special event today. This is our Tournament 18 Semifinals match between one of our grizzled veterans and long-term Four Horsemen players, Philippe Bizian. Philippe is our Tournament 2 champion, and today he is battling out again with a very creative, unique, and innovative Four Horsemen Old School Magic deck against one of our newer European players who's also playing something very spicy. John, looking forward to doing this commentary with you.
This should be a pretty good match. I also don't think it's going to be a very long match.
Right? We shall see. It all depends. For our viewers, if you're returning, thanks for supporting us. Thanks for joining. Subscribe and comment in our YouTube channel. For our new folks, Four Horsemen Old School Magic is a unique and different form of Old School Magic: The Gathering that focuses on the first four expansions, the 1993-94 expansion sets, in Arabian Nights, Antiquities, Legends, and the Dark. Check us out at fourhorsemanmagic.com. Quick look at the Banned and Restricted. John and myself and some of our other players have long been working on refining, updating, and improving the Banned and Restricted. John, where do you think we are now in terms of balance, fair play, and spiciness with the B&R?
I think we're in a pretty good spot. People really enjoyed the previous list to this, and this is mostly the same. All we've really done here is we've now added a couple of the card draw engines. In particular, Sylvan Library is just such a powerful card in this format. And I felt like it was so unbalanced. If somebody slams a turn 2 Sylvan, that gives them a huge, huge advantage. Mm-hmm. And, they can still play it. It's still a silver bullet, but they can't play 4 copies anymore.
Right.
And then we also, along with that, added Greed. And we added Dark Heart of the Wood, which might look weird when people see it in a vacuum. But that's become kind of a powerful centerpiece to a draw engine with land tax and other cards. And also the life gain is a big deal in Four Horsemen. Mm-hmm. We've actually seen life gain swing a lot of games in this format. Those are the 3 cards that got added this time. And I don't expect this list to change again for a while. We usually run at least 3 tournaments, if not more, on any given banned and restricted list. And this is probably the healthiest place we've been ever, I think.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see all the spicy brews. For our viewers, if you go to fourhorsemanmagic.com and click on tournaments and go to Tournament 18, you can see all of the tournament decks. Super spicy, innovative, creative brews. The thing that we're seeing in the format is innovation and creativity and combos and synergies are really taking off, and it's really helping the meta get much more fascinating and a lot more fun and challenging as well. For the tournament schedule, we are in the semifinals stretch. All of our quarterfinals matches have been completed, and semifinals and finals are all that remains. So these are some of the best decks in the tournament facing off. Just a quick note on our prizes. We offer free playmats for our first place prize, Philippe actually already has one of these, so we'll have to get creative in what we can award Philippe for his additional first place win. And John, all of your proxies and token cards are also mailed out to the top 8 players. So if you'd like to join us for future tournaments and compete to win for some of these great free prizes, please do so. Check us out. You can also join our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/4horsemenmtg. Here's a quick look at the tokens. John, quick comment by you on how you came up with the idea for these.
Oh yeah, and we'll also have to update this because there's cooler ones now. But we all started with the island. We wanted some copies of that old island from the old Duelist magazine that was an April Fool's thing. So we made those. But then beyond that, I started looking through the old comic books and stealing art from those to make some of these tokens, and then of course that snowballed into other things as well. So
borrowing and paying homage to the art.
Right, exactly.
Not the S word.
It's all stuff that's vintage. Like, I like to use stuff from that era.
Right.
Like if I'm going to take art from something. And then of course the old Microprose video game. There were tokens there as well, and those came straight from mtglibrarities.com. That's a cool website. Go check it out. The tokens came from there, and then the rest of the cards that have comic book art or other alternate art came from me. But last year was kind of the year of the proxy and the token for me. I made a whole bunch of these for this format and for FE40 and for a couple of the other formats I run on Discord. I made about 50 cards last year. This year's going to be the year of the stamp. I've made rubber stamps this year with all of the different formats on them, so you'll start seeing those cards come through too. But I've got a large stock of the stuff I made last year, so I'll be still mailing those out throughout 2025.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for doing that for us, John. These cards are so cool. Oubliette, Guardian Beast, Jusum Jin, the Ring of Maroof, the islands, Arabian Nights Islands, really popular. Brassman down here in the lower right's actually making a showing in the tournament today. I think Philippe's got at least one or two of those in his deck. Of course, the ever popular Rook tokens. And yes, I'd love to update the graphic with all the latest cards, so we'll do that for the next one. All of our top 8 players, as John mentioned, receive these types of cards, a selection of these. So come join us, play in our future tournaments, and compete to win some of these as a top 8 Four Horsemen player. The other prize is our first place Ken Meyer Jr. Unique Art Guardian Beast Purple Moonlight Playmat. Ken Meyer Jr. made 100 of these. They're signed, numbered, stitch edges, completely original art, totally unique to Four Horsemen, and we own the copyright and rights to this, so you cannot get this art anywhere else. And we're happy to be a patron of Ken's, and thank him so much for making this awesome, unique playmat for Four Horsemen. If you win first place, we ship you one of these for free. Okay, John, let's get into the match. A quick look at the brackets. This is the new view on Teleria, a little bit different from the older view. Today, we're going to be focusing in on the match of Philippe versus Jacob. The guys are going to be joining us in about 20 minutes. So John and I are going to do a deck tech review of the decks, and then Philippe and Jacob, along with a bunch of our spectators and Four Horsemen crew members, are going to be jumping in our whereby, and we'll be doing live commentary on this match to follow. Okay, John, let's get into it. Tax Edge versus Izzet Immolation Control. What are your thoughts, just kind of generally, on this genre of deck, Tax Edge in general?
Well, Tax Edge is pretty good. It's a deck that we originally thought was going to be kind of a big player in this format, and it's taken it a long time to kind of get its footing, and we've seen some different versions. Philippe has played it several times, and he's really honed his list. So I think this is going to be probably the sharpest it's ever been for him, and I guess that proves true because he's going into the semifinals with it. He has made it to the top 8 before. I don't know if he's made it all the way to the semifinals with it before, but I think he's played it probably 4 times, and so he's really refined what he's doing, both in the list and in his play style. Like he's very comfortable with the deck, and that makes a big difference when you're going into a match.
Yes, that is such a great point. You know, we've seen this with some of the players who focus on a consistent deck theme, and I tried this with the Living Plane Falling Star. Of course, playing a match with a deck that is the same or very similar over and over and over is one of the best ways to make it into the top 8 and even further brackets. Getting that familiarity, like you said, knowing how the deck functions, anticipating certain dynamics and aspects of the deck. These are very subtle elements that can give you an edge and give you a slight but fair advantage in the game, just knowing your deck and having that familiarity. Okay, Izzet Immolation Control. This deck has a few of the dark cards. You want to talk about what we've seen with red-blue, and then we'll get into the deck tech review itself.
Yeah, we've seen some red-blue in this format before. I played red-blue way back in Tournament 2. And Jacob is no stranger to red-blue. I play a lot of different online formats, and so does Jacob, but he plays red-blue in all of them. I've seen him on red-blue in every format that I've faced him in, and so that's a strategy that he likes to make work in whatever environment he's in. And there's a lot of great cards in here, and we will see that when we get to the list.
Yeah, red-blue, red-green-blue, these have been absolute staple combos. White-red, on the other hand, has really not been a dominant deck color theme, although Tax Edge has shown up many times. If you go back and check out fourhorsemenmagic.com, there's a deck gallery of all the photos, and if you look at Tournament 1 and Tournament 2 and Tournament 3, you'll see Tax Edge all over the place. But this was very early. The Banned and Restricted was different. Nobody really knew the Four Horsemen meta. This was almost 3 years ago. And so Tax Edge really hasn't made it into the finals. And so this is very exciting that Philippe has another shot as a long-term original Four Horsemen supporter. I think he's played in all of our tournaments, or most of our tournaments, going all the way back to Tournament 1. And so, definitely we're rooting for Jacob as the underdog, but also for Philippe as a long-term player who's really tried to get this deck into the finals. Okay, let's take a look at the deck. John, what are your initial thoughts here on Philippe's Tax Edge build, and how is this different from his prior brews?
Well, there's of course all the basic stuff that you're going to see. There's the spells themselves, the engine that drives the deck, the land tax, the edge, the Ivory Tower is pretty good. Although it's funny, if that card got banned, I don't think that it would hurt this deck that much. It's nice to have, but it's not an essential thing to make the aggressive part of the deck work. I think the thing that you'll see that's a little different is he's been steadily upping the count of 1-drops in his deck, and we've talked a lot about that. Him and I just kind of speculating like how many you want to run, and like I think there's been more every time he's played it. I think there's 14 1-drops in this version. And he's also experimenting with his last couple of flex slots. And this time it's eye for an eye. There's been a lot of different things in those last 2 slots. And I don't know that he'll play eye for an eye again, or if it's even been good for him. But that's just the card that he's kind of trying out this time. Yeah. Also, in the sideboard, you'll see that he has even more creatures. If he wants to go more creature heavy, he's got some Repentant Blacksmiths. Mm-hmm. Which the Pro Red is definitely relevant here in this format with all the Chain Lightnings flying. And although, it's funny, he can't Bloodlust them because they're Pro Red. And he's also got Army of Allah in the sideboard. So there's definitely a world here where if he is worried about them playing something like Presence of the Master and he wants to switch gears, he could take out those lands edges and bring in those Army of Allahs and those extra creatures and just be a straight aggro deck.
Yeah, it's true. And you know, the Land's Edge card in of itself, I've flashed it up here for us. You know, this is such a staple card of old school Magic, and being able to just play this enchantment, it's an enchant world, and being able to just discard lands as an instant and to do 2 damage, it's so powerful. And you know, the real trick is using the land tax to then gather up all the needed lands. And what we've seen in the past is doing the land tax land jet combo. It requires that your opponent trigger the land tax. So the unique kind of like genius of this creative brew is the fact that Philippe can run off of a single land for almost the entire game until he's got his Land's Edge ready and in hand and ready to go. And with cards like Brassman, right? The Brassman is such a sidewalk magic reminiscent card. This is a card from Arabian Nights that was reprinted and revised, and it's a 1/3 for 1, so it can block things like early Mistress Factory and early attackers. And it's got that really cool Christopher Rush metal mummy artwork that's really, really reminiscent of old school sidewalk magic. You mentioned this other card, John, Eye for an Eye, right? We haven't seen Eye for an Eye much in Four Horsemen. Do you think this card is interesting, and where is it good?
Well, I don't think I've seen anybody cast that card since 1995. So, but here's the thing. This is where it plays into Philippe's strategy. Philippe, both with his early creatures and with his bloodlusts, he wants to get in like a little bit of damage so that he can then reach that threshold to kill them with the Land's Edge. If he can get them down maybe to 15 or something like that, and that's where this card comes in too. If he can just hit one good attack from them, maybe an attacker that has like 4 or more power, if he can hit it with that, or maybe even if it only does 2 or 3 damage, it's enough to help him out. I don't know. I don't think I love it overall. I don't think I would include it in a list. If I was building a list for this deck, I would find something else to put in those slots. But I can see the logic. He's trying to use every card in the card pool that can help him, and he feels like, well, maybe this is a card that can get me under that Land's Edge threshold.
Right. And the last card is Winds of Change. This is such a interesting combo card. It's always been a staple of the Tax Edge deck. It's been reprinted a ton, but being able to discard those extra lands and then toss them and back into your deck that you've land taxed for, and then replace those with just regular draws, you could effectively get 3 or 4 extra cards into your hand by swapping them out for lands. So that's a really powerful combo. We're getting close to match time, so let's get into Jacob's deck. Okay, John, Jacob is playing this really kind of unique Izzet Immolation control deck. What are your thoughts on this brew?
It's pretty cool. He's got a fairly low curve for some of these decks that we've seen. He's not playing anything over 4. We have seen decks similar to this in the tournament. In fact, the deck that I mentioned that I played way back in Tournament 2 is not that different from this list. But he is doing a couple of cool things. Like, he has those City of Shadows as extra sack outlets, so he can steal stuff with Old Man and then sacrifice it and steal something else.
Yeah, City of Shadows, right? Let's talk about that for a second. Let me pull it up here on Gatherer. This is a card from The Dark, one of your favorite sets. What do you think about City of Shadows?
Yeah, I do have a special affection for The Dark. I love the cohesiveness of the art in that set. Like it's just creepy. Yeah, the City of Shadows is an interesting card that like we don't really see a lot of play with, but this is probably one of the better strategies to make use of it. You can sacrifice a creature and put a counter on it, and then it'll generate colorless mana equal to the counters. So he can steal stuff and get rid of it, and then also at the same time get the added benefit of a little extra mana to work with.
Yeah. All right. So what else draws your eye in this kind of unique and different red-blue Izzet type build?
Well, in this matchup, he's got a lot of answers to one drops, which is pretty good for him. Because I think that the way he loses, if he loses, is to little guys hitting the board and getting bloodlusted, and then losing to that tax edge. But he's got immolations, he's got chain lightnings, he could even artifact blast a brass man. He's got a falling star. He's got remove souls, which we might see. It's going to be funny. I'm going to laugh in this match when like a Tundra Wolf gets remove sold, but it's going to happen. And then if he can make it to 3 mana and drop an old man, he can steal anything that Philippe plays. So I don't think he's out of this match. I think he's got a lot of outs. Even the boomerangs could hit something that's coming in with a bloodlust and save him some damage. So he's got a lot of cheap interaction, and that's going to go a long way in this match.
Yeah. I think that it's clear just looking at these decks. Jacob Monk is most certainly the underdog here, but everybody loves to root for the underdog, right? And it's interesting, you pointed out a few of these cards that Jacob has. For example, Immolation. He's got this as an answer where this is a card we saw in Four Horsemen Pauper Singleton, Pauper Doubleton, where we only played with commons. It just so happens that this is a fantastic answer for this first turn Tundra Wolf or any first turn creature. And Philippe's deck, although the tax edge strategy is the primary win condition, it only can work if he has enough lands in hand to deal all the damage to finish off your opponent. And the way he gets in early damage is with a first turn Tundra Wolf and then a second turn attack and then a Bloodlust on that Tundra Wolf to get in for 5 damage. And then he needs less lands for a tax edge combo to work. What's interesting here is Jacob can immolate for 1 mana and stay on 1 mana the same way that Philippe can stay on 1 mana for land tax. So you might argue that in other decks, Immolation's not super great, but here it's a fantastic answer.
Yes, and it's interesting. I made a slight error. I said that he wasn't playing anything over 4. There is a couple cards in his deck there, up in the middle. There's 1 Mirror Universe, and there's 1 Amnesia. And the Amnesia is going to be terrible in this matchup, so that's gonna get sided out. But the Mirror Universe is kind of interesting. Although that's not going to be super good either, because I feel like Tax Edge is a deck that kills you all in 1 turn. Like it's not gonna chip away. It might chip away with its creatures, but that last blast of damage is going to come all at once. So probably those 2 6-drops are going to come out in game 2.
Right.
For I don't know what's in his board that's even good against Philippe. This is the other 2 Falling Stars, I guess.
Yes. So Falling Star is probably his best option, which I've been really enjoying playing with Falling Star with my living playing Falling Star combo deck. But Falling Star is he's got 1 in the main board and 2 in the sideboard, and he also has an extra.
Hello.
He also has an extra artifact blast.
How you doing?
All right, sounds like the guys are joining us in the whereby. Hey, good morning, Jacob. We are finishing off the deck tech reviews, and we will be starting the match here in just a little bit. All right, so Jacob has joined us. Yeah, so sideboarding game 2, right? The Falling Stars are going to probably come in, and the Mirror and the Amnesia may come out. Although, John, if we look at the Amnesia, right? The Amnesia, if the game goes long and Jacob is able to play around the Amnesia in a normal game might be valuable. But in this game, Tax Edge, you're most likely going to have a handful of lands unless you've done Winds of Change. So, you could argue, right, John, that maybe Amnesia is really bad, but maybe it's really good.
Nah, it's probably really bad. Like 9 times out of 10, the Tax Edge player is just going to have all lands in their hand. It's going to look like they have a huge hand. They're going to be sitting on, a full grip, but like 6 of those cards are going to be lands.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. They could Winds of Change and get a bunch of stuff, but if they do that, it's likely that they play most of it that turn, or at least 2 or 3 cards that turn.
Right.
So they're unlikely to get caught with their pants down, as it were.
The other card that I think is really interesting, and it's a card that I also played in my last couple of tournament decks, and that is the very creative, unique Antiquities instant card, the red counterspell Artifact Blast. Now this card is really good against things like early Ivory Tower. It's excellent against countering Triskelion in the Four Horsemen meta. But in this matchup, curiously enough, Jacob's running 2 of these main deck. So not only does he have those 4 Chain Lightnings and 4 Immolations, he's got 2 main deck Artifact Blasts and another one in the sideboard. So that gives him more turn 1 options and more options to stay at 1 mana. He can counter that very critical Brass Man. That Brass Man in Philippe's deck is so strong early game, and it can be Chain Lightninged with the chains, or it can be Artifact Blast. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I like it in general in this format. There's a lot of good artifacts to counter. It's not super great against Philippe because only Brass Man gets hit by it. I guess Ivory Tower gets hit by it, but I don't think Ivory Tower is going to be a factor in this match. Yeah, it's okay though. It's I don't know that he wants more than the 2, and I don't know if in game 2 he'll even keep them both in. But he could counter Brass Man. I think it's more there to counter things like Triskelion and
Right.
Tetravis and other big artifact guys that'll come down later in other matches.
For sure.
But it's not totally dead either.
That's right. Yeah, it's just interesting that it's actually could be a pivotal card if it ends up being a turn 1 counter for Jacob. Okay, so let's finish off the decks here. Jacob's also running the 4 Azure Drakes and the 4 Ghost Ship, which are staples from your Blue Robots deck. Gotta love these cards, right? These are just like the Azure Drake. How reminiscent is this card, and how good is it in Four Horsemen?
I mean, it's actually pretty decent, and my whole theory was to just run that theme out as far as I could. I just played all of the X4 flyers. So I had Drakes and Ghost Ships and Serendibs, and all I was trying to do was jam and Clockwork Avian. Like, all I was trying to do was jam X4 flyers and then crowd the skies and counter other stuff while I could. We don't have a lot of counter spells left in the format now. We have restricted mana drain, which was the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. But we do have those remove souls, which are pretty good when your opponent's also trying to play answers to your like flying army, and you can counter their larger flyers.
Yeah.
This is good, and also Old Man's kind of fun because it can steal other opposing 2/4 flyers.
Right.
So if he ran into another deck that was trying a similar strategy to this, he could steal a Ghost Ship or he could steal a Drake. And then, he'd be 2-for-1ing them, really. He'd be getting a guy and having an attacker.
Yes.
I think that this is going to be a good match.
Yeah, it should be a really, really good match. Yeah, Old Man is going to be interesting. If Jacob can stay at 1 or 2 mana and stay at land parity with Philippe and the Tax Edge deck, he can avoid maybe triggering land tax. And then if Philippe does eventually get to 3 lands, then the Old Man can come down, and it can be really powerful for him to steal any creatures. So yes, this is such an interesting matchup. I think definitely the underdog is Jacob, and he's got a very difficult mountain to climb here, but he does have outs and he does have answers. So I think it's going to be really exciting to see how this plays out.
The card that we don't see in Jacob's deck is Serendipity, and I'm kind of surprised that he's not playing it, because even if he's just being patient and doesn't think that it's worth maybe taking the damage or whatever, he has sack outlets. Like, he has Diamond Valley, he has City of Shadows. So, like, it seems like it'd be pretty safe for him to run that card, and then if it's a problem for him, he can just sack it and gain some life, or sack it to the City of Shadows so that he doesn't take damage.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I would like that card in this list.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Serendipity is obviously one of the most powerful cards in old school Magic. It's played everywhere, but in Four Horsemen, it's also been a staple of so many decks. But over time, the players have realized how powerful enchantments are in Four Horsemen, and things like Spirit Link and, you know, Gaseous Form, even things like Demonic Torment, or really spicy cards like Imprison. Those cards can effectively...
Good morning. Yeah, sorry, my mic was muted.
Hey, Philippe, thanks for joining us. We're just finished.
Not too bad. How about you?
We're just finishing off the deck tech, guys, and we'll be with you in just a minute.
Yep.
Okay, so Philippe just joined us here. Okay, so we are ready to get started on the match. Let's get into the game. And I think this is going to be a really, really interesting matchup. And we're excited to see these two players throwing down on the Four Horsemen Old School Magic carpet. All right, John, let's switch over to the whereby. Let me switch over here. All right. So we've got some spectators. Luke is in the house, and Luke's over in Australia. We got Michael in the house. Thanks for joining us this morning, guys. All right, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I think we are ready to get started. John and I just completed the deck tech reviews, and I think we're ready to rock and roll.
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
All right, do you guys wanna make any comments or share any thoughts before we get started today?
Excited to be here. First tournament, so I'm already happy I made it this far.
Yeah, it's a pretty good accomplishment, Jacob. You know, there's a lot of players that have been playing this format for the last 2.5 years, and as a new player coming in fresh, making it all the way to the semis, that right there is a pretty spicy accomplishment unto itself. So thanks for joining us, thanks for playing, and we're happy to see you in the semis. Philippe, you've been here before. You won tournament number 2. Tax Edge has never won first place. Will this be the time for it to shine? That's the question today.
Yeah, well, I'll try. I'll do my best.
All right, guys. All right, John and I are going to go on mute, and we'll be commentating, and we're live streaming, and we want to wish both of you guys the best of luck.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Okay, cheers, guys.
You can do a middle pile on top.
Okay, John. So, what are your predictions? What do you think is going to occur here? Who do you think is going to win?
You know, I think this is a pretty okay matchup. I think Jacob has a lot of answers for what Philippe's doing. I mean, Philippe's strategy certainly is very sound, and he could just come out the gate blazing. And, you know, I don't think it's going to be a long match. Like, I think that these games will be pretty swift. But I guess there's a world where it could get a little grindy if Jacob is killing early threats and then sticking an old man and then kind of trying to chip in there, because Jacob does not have a strategy to kill quickly the way that Philippe does. Mm-hmm. So, you know, in games that Jacob is able to... he's taking them all again.
Yeah, looky there. Yes, so...
He did not feel like he had enough answers to the early threats.
Yes.
In that hand.
Yes, I mean, that's really smart on Jacob's part, right? I mean, he knows that his deck is probably at a disadvantage here, so he has to have something like Chain Lightning or Immolation or I mean, Mishra's Factory, Artifact Blast. He needs a mountain. He needs an Immolation, a Chain Lightning, and he needs these answers that he can operate on 1 mana, or he knows that his deck is probably doomed. So he's got to aggressively mulligan to try to have some of that. Oh, is this a double mulligan?
I'm afraid so.
Oh, man,
so,
that's tough.
I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean he's out of it. If he can get a couple of 1-drop answers in his hand, I mean, I don't think he'll mull below 5, I would hope, but it's a bad place to be, because what he doesn't want to see is if he mulls to 5 and then he sees just a bunch of drakes and ghost ships, like that's not going to be good for him. Like, he needs to have at least a Chain Lightning or an Immolation, hopefully 2, a combination thereof. He's quickly deciding which 2 to put on the bottom, and he is keeping this.
Okay, so hopefully he's got some 1 casting cost answers here. Oh, Volcanic. Okay, that's an excellent option, because that will give him access to Immolation, to Chain Lightning, and maybe even turn 2 Boomerang. Turn 1 Clergy for...
No, it's a Miracle Worker.
Oh, is that a Miracle Worker?
This is one of the cards that Philippe and I talked about after I played Tax Edge the last time. I played it in tournament 17. I said, this deck needs Miracle Worker. There were so many games that I would have won if I could have destroyed opposing Spirit Links.
Right.
And the deck wants 1-drops anyway. So there it is. And of course, we see it get Chain Lightning right away.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have an early guy. Probably get a wolf here. Yeah, there you go. Thunder Wolves.
Oof, yes. So let's see if he is able to navigate around this. Jacob will need either that Immolation or another chain.
I predict an Immolation.
Yes, right. If he did the chain right away, he knows that Tundra Wolf also has First Strike, and that is a pretty powerful ability, especially with that. Oh, there's the strip mine.
Stripping his
no.
volcanic.
Oh, that's
Real
terrible. Oh, that's really rough for Jacob. And oh, yes, and now he's down to an island. Oh my gosh, what a fortuitous draw on the part of Philippe. He gets the strip mine, and now he can take down the mountain that Jacob needs for his red mana. Oh, woof. And there's the Bloodlust for the 5 damage. This is not looking good for Jacob.
That was the perfect sequencing for him. Oh, and now Jacob's stuck on only blue, even with another land.
Oh,
this is bad. This is bad.
Rough.
This is bad.
Yes, this is not good.
I guess double blue gives him that 1 out for his single mana drain for the Land's Edge.
That's true.
If he's lucky enough to draw it. Oh no, another Bloodlust.
Oh man,
massive damage.
Oh geez, this is so rough for Jacob. This is not going anywhere near like what we were thinking. This is the problem with these restricted cards.
Old man. Okay, so this is not the worst. I mean, that can now block or steal.
That's true.
So he's kind of shut down the damage coming at him. The problem is
wow, Philippe has all the answers. Chain Lightning to take down the old man. Oh, this is the absolute worst scenario Jacob could possibly imagine here. Old man number 2, though.
The old man returns. Old man
version 2.0, back from the dead. Okay, will Philippe have another chain? Oh my gosh, what a hand Philippe must have had here. This is insane.
Jesus.
Wow. Oh, poor Jacob. And how fortunate for Philippe. That one strip mine, it's a restricted card in Four Horsemen, has completely rocked this game.
As it does in many matches. I mean, we have really seen, people have not been super happy sometimes when we put cards on the restricted list.
Right.
And I get it. But, we at one point decided we wanted to be a 1-strip format instead of a 4-strip format.
Mm-hmm.
So that we weren't auto-including so many cards. And let me tell you, that 1-strip mine still blows games out as a silver bullet. We see it happen over and over.
It's happening right here.
We seeing it here.
Another Tundra Wolf, and Philippe getting in on double damage, bringing Jacob down to 5. Okay, so now Jacob finally gets a red mana source. He's able to chain lightning one of the wolves.
I was kind of hoping he had a falling star right there, and he could have got both of them.
Right. Man, that
he
would
only
have been
had
such a
chain.
good move. He also doesn't have enough to play a Ghost Ship or a Azure Drake, so he's taking another one from the wolf, and Brassman comes down here.
And even if he has an artifact blast, he has no red mana.
Right, so he couldn't blast the artifact because of the chain. Possibly a Azure Drake or a Ghost Ship could be some form of salvation. Old man number 3, interesting. That may really help here if Philippe doesn't have another chain. How many chain lightnings has he used? 3 or 2?
4.
4 chain lightnings?
Oh, he's used 2, but he has 4 in his deck.
Yes. Okay. Here come Brassman and Tundra Wolves. Tundra Wolves gets blocked. And interesting. Winds of Change.
Whoa, Winds of Change. Interesting.
So Jacob has 4 cards on 3 life. So Philippe could just draw into a chain lightning here and it'd be game over for Jacob. Yeah. Also, if he gets a land's edge here, then it's also game for Jacob. Most likely.
It is funny though. We could see a situation here where he just hangs on 3 life and tries to get back in it. We've certainly seen that before.
Philippe has 4 cards in hand, and wow, how does he have so many cards in hand? Because he hasn't played any lands. Well, no, he's played 3 lands.
Yeah, he most likely shuffled away extra lands that he had to get some extra cards with that.
But he hasn't land taxed yet. And here comes another Tundra Wolves. Now, can Jacob block and steal a creature and handle 2 at the same time with the old man?
Yeah, he can.
I wonder if he knows that.
He could declare. I'm sure he does. He's a pretty good player. He could declare it as a blocker and then steal the other one.
Right. The problem is he's already at 4 lands, so if land tax comes down, it's going to auto trigger no matter what. Does he have an immolation here? Yes. Okay. Go Jacob. Rooting for the underdog at 3 life. That takes down the Tundra Wolf, so no more first striking. This will also cause the Brassman has to pay 1 in the upkeep to untap, so Brassman now has to stay tapped.
Yeah, and he didn't pay to untap it because he knew that it wasn't going to get in for anything. So he's just going to wait for some direct damage now, I guess.
Okay, and Jacob goes ahead and taps the Old Man of the Sea and steals the Brassman and pays 1 to untap it. And Jacob draws. He's got a blue and a red and a blue open. So he also has his out of mana drain, right, John? You mentioned that earlier.
This is a good place to be for Philippe, though, because even if he can't seal the deal quickly, he can afford to just sit there for a very long time. Like, it's not like Jacob is doing him damage. I mean, he's attacking him for 1, right? So, like, he can wait. Oh, and there's the City of Shadows. So now he can turn on his engine of stealing things and sacking them, which I don't think is going to be super relevant here.
Well, he can sack that Brassman and then start attacking with Old Man, but he may not want to do that just yet.
I mean, the Old Man's a better attacker than the Brassman, as it does double damage. So I would do that.
Yes,
I would sack that Brassman.
Okay.
And he did.
Yes. All right. So now the City of Shadows gets a counter on it, and now it can tap for mana. So now he's got access to 5 mana. Will he be able to Amnesia?
Yeah, well, you know what? He's almost at 6 to play Mirror Universe.
Mirror Universe is also
wouldn't that be funny if we saw a Mirror Universe here?
Yes.
And then he just got chain lightninged or whatever. Oh, here's Old Man number 4.
Old Man number 4. Is Jacob on the comeback trail here? Is this even possible? Can he claw his way out from 3 life? The problem is 1 chain lightning in the game is game. Oh, here is the Land's Edge. Oh, man. Does he have the mana drain? No. 2-4. There's 4 damage. Oh, my gosh. That was so rough for Jacob. Man, that strip mine just completely threw this game for Jacob. How?
I wanted to see a couple more turns where just a couple of old men were playing beat down.
Right.
Like, it would have really been interesting to see him get Philippe really low, but that was always a danger there, that Philippe would just draw into the land's edge to finish him off.
Oh, that was so tough for Jacob, but we knew this was going to be a challenge for him. Okay, so let's look at the decks, John. Let's start with Philippe's deck. Does he even sideboard anything here?
I don't think he really needs to.
I mean, the Eye for an Eye are not great, so he may side those out for Army of Allah, maybe?
Or for a couple of blacksmiths, just for extra creatures. I don't know, though.
Yeah.
I mean, the blacksmiths can't be killed by opposing chain lightnings, and they also can't be immolated. So, like, I don't actually think they're horrible.
Yes.
So they might actually come in.
Right. He probably doesn't need Ivory Tower either. So he could take out the Eye for an Eye and the Ivory Tower and put in 3 blacksmith. Also, I think the blacksmith are a lot better than the clergy in this case. So, and does he need Spirit Link? Does he need all 4 Winds of Change?
Probably not. I mean, he could cut back on some of those cards too. Mm-hmm. Like, there's not really great things to use the Spirit Links on. Jacob doesn't have anything that deals more than 2 damage. So, I mean, like, what does he care if he's Spirit Linking stuff?
Right. Okay, so let's take a look at Jacob's deck. What is Jacob going to sideboard? He's got the Force Spikes. Maybe we didn't talk about this in the deck tech, but could Force Spike be an answer to Land's Edge? Because if
Force Spike's pretty good against the deck that plays as few lands as possible.
Right.
Like, you saw there that when he played the Land's Edge, he was at 3 lands to play it. So, like, he would then need a 4th land to hedge against a Force Spike. I think Force Spike's pretty good here as an early answer. I also think his extra copies of Falling Star would be pretty good here too.
Yes, the Falling Star would be excellent. So what does he side out and what does he side in? I would put in the 3 Force Spike and I would put in the 2 Falling Star. What does he take out? Maybe the 4 Azure Drakes and the 4 Ghost Ships?
I dumped both 6-drops.
Oh yes, the Mirror and the Mirror and the Amnesia.
Some number of 4-drops.
Right. So you can take out Mirror, take out Amnesia, and take out a couple of Drakes and Ghost Ships. Maybe even the Recall. Put in those 2 Falling Stars and those 3 Force Spikes, and maybe he can survive. Okay, let's get back to the action. The guys have shuffled up. Now, if you are Jacob, do you take the draw here, John? Or obviously you take the play, right? Or do you go second and let Philippe go first? He gets 1 last draw, and then he has to decide if he wants to play 2 lands. Maybe the going second and drawing is better for Jacob.
You know, this is a really interesting question. I'm trying to think it through and deciding which is better against the land tax deck. So if Jacob takes the play and Philippe plays a land tax on his turn 1, that's still really good for the land tax player, but I don't think it really helps him to let Philippe go first with all of the 1-drops that he has. So yeah, I don't know. I guess you just go ahead and take the play and get yourself a land. But the problem, so like Jacob doesn't have any 1-drops, right? So like, what's he gonna do with his turn 1? Even if he has 1-cost cards, they're all reactive. They're all gonna be Immolations or Chain Lightnings. So is the extra card better?
I think the extra card is better, and I think it gives him 1 more shot at getting an Immolation or a Chain Lightning, and it gives him, he doesn't want to play 2 lands into Philippe's 1-land tax scenario anyways. And Philippe is mulliganing here, so maybe he didn't have land tax in hand, so he'll be down a card, and if Jacob elects for him to go first, he'll be down 2 cards, and then Jacob will have a 2-card potential advantage. Let's see what happens. I didn't hear or see if the guys have decided who goes first.
Jacob liked his hand. He didn't mulligan. Philippe mulliganed, right?
Well, Jacob is showing, yes, he did not mulligan, so there's the 1 card on the bottom for Philippe. Now Jacob's starting, okay, so he is taking the play. Interesting. Yeah, I think I would have definitely tried to get Philippe to take the play and go for the draw. Here comes the turn 1 Brass Man. Oof, that is going to be tough for Jacob to deal with for quite a bit. But at least it has to pay 1 to untap. Oh, interesting. No red mana. Jacob kept a no red mana hand.
Oof. You know what I think? This tells me I think we're going to see an old man next turn.
Yes.
Because like if he didn't have any red and didn't have any early plays, there's got to be an old man in his hand.
Oh, and there's a land tax.
Which kind of it's gonna get triggered no matter what. So like, I guess he just drops the land and plays an old man. But man, that's dangerous. Oh, there's a chain lightning. Man, I don't know if I love that. I don't know if I love playing a third land just to chain lightning something.
Right.
Like, so now Philippe's gonna get to tax 2 turns in a row. I mean, this could be bad news already.
Yeah, this is not good. I'm really surprised Jacob kept his hand if he only had blue mana to start. I'm very surprised because he knows he needs a Chain Lightning or an Immolation in the opening hand, and he knows he needs that Volcanic Island. Maybe he waited because the Strip Mine just demolished him and took his only red mana in game 1. So maybe he wanted to wait, but here comes 2 plains and a mountain for Philippe. It's effectively a 3-land Ancestral Recall. And yeah, you're right. Playing directly into land 3, knowing that that's going to give basically Philippe carte blanche to land tax at every turn for the rest of the game. He only needs 1 land to operate. So Jacob's strategy for winning here depends on him staying on 1 land himself and not triggering land tax, which that's the only avenue and pathway to winning. But starting with a blue island for his first land, he can't do that. He needs red.
I want to see something get force spiked here. I think it'll be funny.
Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe he's got force spike and he can. Okay, so here's.
I want that to get force spiked so bad, or it'll get remove sold. I think that's getting countered.
Oh, no remove soul. No remove soul.
No counter. So that blacksmith is going to run amok because he can't be dealt with. Well, he could be dealt with by old man.
Old man. Okay, so here's his strategy. He's got old man, and now he can steal the blacksmith in Diamond Valley if Philippe doesn't have Chain Lightning. So Philippe land taxes again. So at this point, Jacob is just completely done with trying to play around land tax. Philippe gets 2 plains this time, so he doesn't fully load up. He does not have a mountain in play yet, so it's at least 2 turns until he can land tax. Also, Jacob can gain life here. So now he's got a life gain.
I'm actually surprised, given all the taxing, that he didn't get a red source into play, because you need double red, as you mentioned, for the Land's Edge.
Right.
And I know that there's there's a temptation to put that factory into play, but factory is actually not that great against Jacob with those old men.
Right.
And he now has to put 2 more lands into play to get 2 red sources.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter, because now that Jacob's gone up to 4 lands, he's going to be able to do whatever. But
okay, looks like Chain Lightning's coming in. Oh, Winds of Change coming in. So that's not a Chain Lightning. This could be very good for Jacob, depending on what's in his hand. Now, Philippe obviously has like 8, or how many cards does he have?
8 cards.
Oh, God.
This is where you really want to Winds of Change. But again, he has a colorless mana down, so that really kind of sucks. I mean, I guess he could draw a Brass Man to play with the factory, but I have found that in playing this deck, I don't actually love playing that factory unless it's, kind of like my third land or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I like to get both colors down if I can, so that I have the flexibility to play anything that I draw
right
off of a Wind Change, or I'm able to play, both a removal spell and a creature in the same turn.
Mm-hmm.
But he's doing fine, obviously. Like, it's not really a criticism. I've noticed that playing the deck, that it can sometimes be awkward to have that colorless land as one of your lands. 8 cards.
8 cards he's filling up on the Winds of Change. Jacob gets 4 cards.
Because if he drew a chain here, he would want to chain the old man, but he can't because he doesn't have another red source.
Right. And
So,
also, he
like,
just put all those lands back into his deck. And Jacob's at 19 life here, and he's going to gain 2 life. He's going to be able to steal that Repentant Blacksmith and gain 2 life and go to 21. So this is going to put him out of, the tax edge combo 1-turn damage kill.
So eight cards in his hand, and he uses his white source to play his Brassman, and doesn't use his, like, does he not have another card to play? So there's no white 1-drop in that hand?
I guess not.
Or does he just not want to play it? Because, I mean, the Brassman can also get stolen. I don't really know.
Yeah, he can steal the Brassman and gain 3 here. I don't know that I would have played that Brassman here, because he can just gain 3 life with it. And as you pointed out,
it's a free healing self right now.
As you pointed out, John, that Repentant Blacksmith cannot be bloodlusted, so it's only going to get in for 1 damage.
Yeah, I actually think that was a bad play, playing that Brassman. But
all right, so Jacob elects to just pass turn, and will he try to play Land's Edge here? Probably not, because he probably doesn't have enough lands in hand. And remember, Land's Edge can be activated by any player, so Jacob can also discard lands.
Well, I mean, it's really statistically unlikely, but if Philippe had 7 lands in his hand and a Land's Edge, like, because he had 8 cards before, right? So he drew a card, putting him to 8, and actually he's going to tax for 1 here, so he could potentially get an extra land, have his draw from the turn. He could have enough lands to do 21 damage.
Right.
But I doubt that that's the case, because some of those other cards that he wins a change for have to be other stuff.
Right.
Although he could have, like, maybe he really wants a Chain Lightning. Like, that's the best card right here. He wants to Chain Lightning that old man and start punching for 2.
Right. Yeah. And he's probably got that chain.
Punch for 2.
He's probably got that chain because he did draw 8 cards. Now, is he going to go to 4? Oh, shit. The strip mine again. Oh, man, that is so bad for Jacob.
It gets rid of that Diamond Valley. Which
is no, that's really not good for Jacob. Strip mine is going to single-handedly win both of these games, is what it looks like.
That was bad, dude. What are you doing? So what he should be doing here is Jacob can block the Repentant Blacksmith and steal the other thing, and then he's going to scoop to that? What is happening here? Why is he scooping? This is crazy.
Whoa.
Like, he could have blocked the Blacksmith, stolen the Brassman, sacked the Brassman to Diamond Valley to gain life, and it also would have killed the Black. Like, this whole game is weird to me. So Philippe should have stripped the Diamond Valley immediately,
right,
and then forced him to steal the Brassman. And I don't know what's going on. He just scooped to it. Like, I don't think that that's a place where you scoop.
Yeah, he could have. You're right. He could have blocked, and then he could have blocked the Brassman, or he could have blocked the Repentant Blacksmith, stolen the Brassman after the block is declared, sacrificed the Brassman to the Diamond Valley, and gained 3 life. That would have put him at 22, and then the Blacksmith would be dead, and the Brassman would be dead.
Let's hop over and talk to the guys about this. This is crazy.
Okay, let's jump in.
Because I can nullify, like, if you try to steal one of my creatures, I could, like, nullify it by doing that.
I can't believe you scooped there, man. Like, what's the thought process there? Because I feel like at that point in the game, the old man could have blocked the Blacksmith and stolen the Brassman and sacked the Brassman to the Diamond Valley to gain 3 life. Like, what is?
I mean, he strip mines my Diamond Valley, and
well, right. He should have immediately before he attacked, but he didn't. So
no, John. If, like, I attacked and then I wait for him to activate the old man so I can strip in response, so he cannot gain life off my creature. So if you want to gain life, he has to sack his own old man.
I guess, but was that really a place in the game to already scoop? Was it totally hopeless there?
No, I think it was not over, but like you said, like
game's absolutely over at that point.
I'm very favored, and like in that particular game, like I have the Land's Edge, I have a second land tax, so I'm gonna be able to get enough lands to.
Yeah, no, I get that you're favored, but I was pretty shocked that it just was an auto scoop there.
Yeah, I think it's an early scoop as well, but yeah, I mean, I understand. I understand that.
So let's talk about the card that won both games. The card that
having that strip mine both games was bonkers.
Hey, would you guys like to do us a favor and just lay your decks out and let's talk about your decks real quick? Would you guys mind doing that for the video? Yes. So the strip mine came out on turn 2 or 3 in game 1, and Jacob had he had double mulligan, so he's down 2 cards already. And as part of Jacob's strategy, he's got to have Chain Lightning and Immolation. And then Philippe, by you getting the strip mine and taking out his volcanic, that just won the game because he never had any other red mana.
Yeah, not necessarily. This game I was dirtling quite a bit. Like, and I like, to be honest, like I told him, I didn't notice right away that he missed his land drop, so I almost didn't notice.
Right.
But in the first place, I didn't want to strip mine any other land because I know like his Diamond Valley and probably Maze of It are a big problem for me. So I wanted to like keep it just in case. But now I felt like, oh yeah, it's a pretty good moment to use it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the game was definitely not over. Like he was like if I didn't like find enough gas, like he was able to like hit blockers and pull ahead, and like there's like the first game was not over because I strip mined him, but this game, yeah, my side with the sideboard, I feel much more confident because I have like the pro red creatures that are annoying for him. I have the volcanoes that are very annoying for him.
Yeah.
And like I said, I have so many tricks. Like if he tries to immolation my creatures, after sideboard, there's just I think the wolves that can be immolation because the brass men don't die and these ones are not targetable.
Yeah.
If he tries to immolation his own drakes, I can active volcano in response. I can even bloodlust in response, so they die. I can chain lightning them afterwards.
Right.
So there's a lot of, like you said, there like I felt, especially after sideboard, I felt very favored for that particular game. But yeah, that made it much more easy for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, looking at my deck in this matchup, I feel like I have like a 5% chance.
Yeah, it was such an uphill battle.
All my threats are at like basically 4 mana.
Right.
And that's one land more than I ever want to play.
Right.
Because there's so much inevitability in Land's Edge and the land tax.
Yeah, it's true.
I certainly think Old Man is kind of your path to victory in this matchup, along with your cheap answers. And you managed to draw all 4 Old Men in game 1.
Yeah.
But you still just weren't quite. He had already come out so strong that your last 3 life points were not going to hold.
Yeah, I mean the efficiency of the enchantments, right? There's nothing. Land tax comes down turn 1, and it's arguably one of the best cards in the format.
Yes, it certainly is.
I didn't even draw it in the first game, I think.
No, he didn't even play a land tax game 1.
Oh,
your deck worked great without it because it did what it's supposed to do, right?
Well,
exactly.
but let's also talk about the game 1, right? Philippe's deck performed literally perfectly. He got a turn 1 Wolf. He got a turn 2 Bloodlust. He got a turn 3 attack with the Bloodlust as well,
and strip mine to that turn.
and then the strip mine to take out the single red mana. I really think that game 1 could have been extremely different if the strip mine hadn't taken out the red mana.
For sure, I got I felt, especially like the same game without mulligan. Like my bloodlust are not necessarily connecting, so like he's probably down to 19 or 18 like he's now instead of 10, so it's a very different game.
Yes. Yeah, that was the kind of the path, the potential underdog, difficult path up the mountain to try to find a way to survive. And the Immolation and the Chain Lightnings give, a 1 mana option to do that. And then mid to late game, there's things like the remove souls and the boomerangs. So it literally, like, in our commentators booth over here, we were just going nuts over the strip mine because that turned both games, and really, this is why strip mine is restricted, but like strip mine is so evil. It's so evil.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the second game especially. The first game, I think, like, even if I don't strip mine, you draw enough land to be able to get by afterwards. So
yeah,
it would have been like much closer because you would have been able to kill my creatures a little faster. But
right.
I still have enough to use the bloodlust. So it would not have been like that game breaking. But yeah, for sure it would have been a little more difficult for me. But yeah, the second game, like I said, I think it's. Yeah, we can consider it an early scoop because a lot of things can happen. I can make mistakes, and you can have like enough stuff to slow me down. But yeah, I agree with you that I'm very favored for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest about the second game, right? Even if you don't strip mine my Diamond Valley, I'm gonna lose anyway.
Well, if he didn't have a strip mine for his Diamond Valley, he could have done anything. Like, you could have locked the blacksmith with your blue creature. You could have stolen and gained 3 life on the brass man. Like, I think that was a much different game if you got to keep your.
That's not what it comes
Diamond
down
Valley.
to. That's not what it comes down to in that game. When you have active land tags and you have land edge, he's gonna hit me for 6 a turn.
Well, but here's the thing, Jacob. You have, what did you sideboard in game 2? Because you have 3 force spikes. The force spikes actually can counter Land's Edge outright. Because Philippe.
Yeah, but I know about them, so it was not gonna happen.
No, and I didn't have any of them in hand anyways.
Okay. Well, so maybe it was just a no path to victory, really difficult matchup then.
No, but I agree with John that that's what I sideboard.
The 4 blacksmith. Oh, and then the 4 volcanoes. Okay.
What did you take out for those 8 cards, Philippe?
I took out 2 eyes.
Have you liked the eye at all in this tournament? I know you've been testing it out.
I've actually never casted them because it was always the first card I removed, and
double white seems not really like where you want to be either.
What did you sideboard, Jacob?
I caught Falling Star and Amnesia.
You took those out? You took Falling Star out and Amnesia out?
I took Falling Star, Amnesia, and a Ghost Chip out for the 3
force spikes. Okay. So that was, and you left the mirror in, huh? Even though it costs 6.
Yeah, I think
it's a good idea.
I mean, mirror is one card that can claw me back. Mana drain into mirror.
Right. Yes.
Potentially do something.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't have anything else to put in from my sideboard anyway. So
you didn't want the Falling Stars for all of his little guys?
Nah, I mean, I got 8 1-mana spells for remove souls. I don't think I.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think it's fair, and like I don't know if you anticipated me like removing some smaller creatures because I thought you were gonna bring the Falling Stars, and I felt like, okay, if I have a little less small creatures and the blacksmiths that are immune to it, it's gonna be less effective anyway. So that was my thought process.
Yeah. My analysis of the matchup was I can handle all your little guys, no problem, bar a hard mana screw or like a strip mine on my single red. Bar that, I can handle your creature aspect without a problem.
Yeah.
So I just need to not die to tax edge.
Exactly. So that's what I took out. I took out 2 eyes, 2 spirits, and 4 1 drop. But yeah, just to finish what you said, John, like I think I agree. Like let's say the second game I don't have strip mine, you steal my blacksmith, my brass man, you gain 3 life, and then I'm slow a little bit, and then you steal my blacksmith, which is not.
And gain 2 more life, so that's 5 more life you're up.
So that's 5 more life, and one problem this deck has is it doesn't have that much reach, and John will agree with me on that one because he played the deck as well. Killing somebody from 20 is usually fairly easy. Not always, but it's very doable, and like I think I'm getting good at it. Killing somebody from 25 is a different story.
Yeah, or 30, or whatever.
Because I have 6 plus 8, so I have 14 lands, so that's 28 damage with just the basics if you have Land's Edge. And then you have to put at the very least 3 or 4 lands. So there's not a whole lot of wiggle room if you're not able to deal combat damage with creatures. If you start getting too much life, you start to get away from the target I'm able to deal. So let's say
right, and you had just Winds of Change away your hand, so you didn't have like an all land brick sitting there. And if he would have gained the 3 life from the Brassman, the 2 life from the Blacksmith, and then a potential extra 3 life from the Old Man itself, that's 28 life. Like, I mean, I don't think that game without the strip mine was over. I really don't.
Oh, for sure. With the strip mine, maybe. But again, like I still can do some stuff. But it's if you have Diamond Valley early and you start gaining a lot of life, it might have been me that conceded, because if you get to high enough life total, I know I'm gonna have a hard time like getting to do enough damage with this.
I was really surprised to see you scoop, Jacob. Can you tell us why did you decide not to try to play it out and just scooped?
I mean, at that point, I'm holding a hand with 2 islands, and
you only had 2 islands in hand.
Two islands and a Maze of Fifth. And then I think Island of Wok Wok, so 4 lands.
But you still,
and you can't really play any more lands at that point, so like it's just like you have no cards.
But Philippe was at 4 lands though, right? And he may have played a 5th land. You may have been able to draw into Ghost Ship or Azure Drake.
Yeah, but
he strip mines my Diamond Valley, so I can't gain any more life that game.
Yeah, but you were at 19.
I mean, listen. He's not gonna play a 5th land. He has active land sets. He knows how to win the game, right? Yeah. He strip mines my Diamond Valley, and then he just writes that to victory. There's no way he's gonna screw up and play a land set.
Yeah, he's just never gonna play another land. He'll just keep land maxing every turn.
I appreciate the confidence that I'm not a bad player. That's
yeah. I mean, but yeah, let's be honest. From that turn on, you're just gonna gain. Pick 3 lands each turn and hit me for 6.
I was actually surprised to see you play a 4th land at all, Jacob, to like get that far ahead and basically allow him to just land tax forever. But you needed to get a red source down at some point.
Yeah, and I also needed to get the Diamond Valley down. I needed 3 actual sources for the Old Man and then the Diamond Valley as well.
One thing that might have, like you said, you had a Maze of it in hand. One thing that might have tricked me is if you played the Maze first, that might have baited me to like strip mine it at some point, and then you get the Diamond Valley and I can't anymore. So that could have been.
I just drew the Maze of it though.
Afterwards, okay.
At the what's called the Winds of Change.
Jacob, I had another question. In game 1, Philippe had I think he had he had a Tundra Wolf and he had a Brassman, and you were on 3 land and you had played your Old Man, and when Philippe attacked with both, you had the ability to activate your Old Man because it didn't have summoning sickness.
No, it was summoning sick.
Oh, it still had summoning sick?
Yeah, I played 2 and he chained.
I had the chain every time.
Okay.
Yeah, the first one got chained and the second one was still sick when he came in.
Okay, it was still okay. So that's why the first one was chained. Okay, so you could not have blocked and activated.
No, not at any point game 1, unfortunately.
Well,
I also got lucky. You didn't have like you have mostly islands every time I cast Chain Lightning, because you could have.
Yeah, that sucked.
Well, guys, this was such a difficult match, Jacob. This whole tournament, you've obviously done extremely well with this, Izzet Immolation control deck. And, Philippe has been playing Tax Edge for a really long time, and he's really refined and improved this deck. We all knew that you were the underdog here. And I think if the strip mine were not so early in both games, I think both games could have been fairly different. So thanks for playing, and congrats on making it this far. Everybody that makes top 8 is going to receive from John some of those cool Four Horsemen proxy cards. And if you were to change your deck now, Jacob, now that you've navigated all the way to the semifinals here, would you have made any brewing changes to this deck, having played it against so many other decks?
I'd absolutely change Mirror Universe for an Ivory Tower.
Mm.
And I would choose not to play Falling Star.
Really? No Falling Star?
2 in the sideboard maybe, but not main deck.
Okay.
I think it's not necessary main deck.
Your deck is good at dealing with small creatures.
What do you think about running the Artifact Blast main?
In the matchups I've played, I haven't had any use for them at all.
Right.
I was anticipating much more artifacts in general.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've used them.
They're really good sideboard cards against Triskelion, which is such a powerhouse creature in the format. But maybe not so good main.
But I got 4 remove souls anyway, I guess.
Right. Yes. So if you were to make some changes, you would take out the Artifact Blast, maybe sideboard them, and the Mirror sideboard, and the Falling Star sideboard. What would you put in?
Yeah, so that leaves me
4 slots,
an Ivory Tower and then 3 more slots. I'm not actually sure. I haven't given it that much thought as to what I would put in.
Yeah.
Well, I know you play red blue in a lot of different formats, so I wasn't surprised this morning when Chad sent me the deck list and I looked at your list. I thought, yeah, that looks like a Jacob deck. You probably didn't have to think that hard to put this initial version of it together.
Would you consider playing City of Brass to allow you to have red or blue in addition to the Volcanic Islands?
No, I'd probably add 3 Felvar Stones, to be fair. A little bit of acceleration would
actually
probably be nice.
Felvar Stone is actually like a good thing against my deck.
Yeah, it's really good against land deck. So, but also good for getting those 4-drop.
Exactly.
What would you change,
Philippe?
Would you change anything? Would you swap out those Eye for Eyes?
Well, I know I'm gonna have to change Ivory Tower because you're gonna ban it at some point. So I'm gonna put this one here. For like the Eye for an Eye, like they might be good in a matchup where there's like more like Urnums and Djinns and everything. So, but like I think in all the games I played, one game I had it in hand and it was a good fail-safe to help me like win if the guy starts attacking me. But it was never like I was never eager to draw it, and I sided it out like every game I played. So every second game I played. So I don't know. I'm gonna try to find something better for this. Maybe like we said with John, like maybe just put the extra 3 clergies, and for some reason the Miracle Worker, like I never like in 5 matches, and like I did like the quarterfinals and the semifinals now, like it never came up that I needed to do that. So maybe I'm gonna do 3 Miracle Workers and 4 clergies because the extra one mana came up more often than this. But it might, like in a different tournament, might have been very different.
Yeah.
So because the ability is useful. So I think that's these are the 2 slots I'm looking at. Either I put like extra clergy. I might even put. I don't know what you think about that one, John, but might even put like two blacksmiths.
Yeah,
directly.
main deck.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I love blacksmiths, so maybe that just gives you extra sideboard slots. But the other card that we talked about that you didn't end up trying this time was Osai Vultures as another maybe 2-drop creature for a little extra evasion to maybe deliver a
Bloodlust
or
you're right.
Whatever.
Hey Jacob, on your deck, would you consider running Felwar Stones main deck? Because if you ran things like Felwar Stones,
we tell you.
Okay, so
if I'm gonna run the main deck, absolutely.
Okay, and what do you think about Serendib Efreet?
I don't think that's what my deck is looking to do. It's a great card, don't get me wrong, but I don't think I'm looking to be that aggressive. If I wanted in the sideboard probably to shift gears.
Mm-hmm. What about
I would like that. I would like to see it coming from the sideboard, because one of the things that I was mentioning is you have sack outlets, so if it becomes a liability, you could potentially just get rid of it. And it does seem like a deck that fits with your general archetype that you have going on there. But I see what you're saying. You're not really looking to
Oh, he's not an
be a
aggressive.
super aggressive deck or win.
No. I think if you just like you cut the cards you said, like the mirror, the blast and the falling stars, and you put 4 Fell Wars, your deck is very well round up, and like it actually makes this matchup much better, because turn 2 Fell War is very annoying with this, because people starts to be able to get more mana, and I can't do much about it.
Yeah, that's true. When in tournament 15, 16, 17, when I was running that Falling Star Living Plane deck, John and I did a bunch of testing, and one of the things we realized was Tax Edge was just running over that deck every time. And in the earlier version, I was playing a black, red, green version, and what we discovered was, a turn 2 Fellwar Stone just stops Tax Edge. Because then as long as you can have 3 mana or Curd Apes, a turn 2 Fell War, or a turn 1 Curd Ape, Chain Lightning, things like that, where you can stay on 2 mana the whole game, or force your opponent to play 3 mana, it can stop the land tax from ever triggering. Well, guys, that was quite a match. Jacob, thanks so much for playing in this tournament. I hope you'll join us for tournament 19. And Philippe,
yeah, absolutely.
Philippe, congratulations on your win. We have been wanting to see Tax Edge make it to first, to the finals, and maybe win first. It's tournament 18, and this might be the first time that Tax Edge takes down a first place victory. So thanks for joining us early, and Jacob, will hope to see you in the next one, and Philippe will see you in the finals.
Thanks.
All right, guys.
Good games.
Good games.
We will be signing off, and thanks everyone for joining us. For our spectators, thanks for joining us. We had 8 or 9 people in the spectator crew. For our viewers, thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting the channel. Check us out at fourhorsemenmagic.com, and we will be signing off. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
All right. Bye, everybody.